Hey guys, Jules here from Behind the Cork for another edition of Weekend Wine, What's in Your Glass. Today, as broadcasted earlier this week, we're going to be talking about Beaujolais Nouveau. Now, if everybody's wondering, what's the craze? I go to LCBO or I go to a local wine store and I find this Beaujolais Nouveau or Beaujolais Primeur that's out. It seems to be only in November. What is the craze about all this? Why is everybody racing to grab this kind of wine? Well, I'm going to go through this, hopefully give you a better understanding of why this is important, what's the tradition behind it, and again, what's the process, so you understand when you go in the store what to expect. Now, to put simply, Beaujolais Nouveau, I have 3 samples here, so some of the more common producers, Joseph Drouin, Georges Duboeuf, and Boucher Année et Fils. So, common producers, you typically find these in any of your stores. Now, what's with Beaujolais Nouveau? This is wine, and this tradition started, back in the early 1900s in France, in the Beaujolais region, which is the central eastern part of France, just south of Burgundy, north of Lyon, France. And the tradition here was to celebrate the harvest of that particular year. So what's different about Beaujolais Nouveau, and why do we only see it on the 3rd Thursday of November every year, is because that is by law what has been chosen as the release date, 12:01 a.m., the 3rd Thursday of every November. They release, which is, in this case, 2020 harvest of the Beaujolais wine, which is a Gamay grape. So in a previous post, we talked a little bit about the Gamay grape, intense fruit. What's different about this process here is that the release of this wine is from fresh pressed wine from that vintage, from that year. Basically, this was harvested in August, September, and rushed to market within a couple of months. And this is to celebrate the end of harvest in the particular region. So what to expect out of this? Because it hasn't been aged, it doesn't go into bottling aging, and that's why typically when you go into wine stores, you'll find years that are typically, I want to say, 2 years backdated, because what ends up happening is a lot of the wineries will age wines for a couple of years, a year to 2 years. Obviously, there's also barrel aging, so some of them might be a lot older. However, you'll typically find a couple of years because they want the wine to rest in the bottle. In this case, however, with Beaujolais Nouveau and Beaujolais Primeur, it's put right into the bottle, and the process of trying to get it to market is quite spectacular. It's just shipped all over the world. And the law prohibits any wine store from showcasing the product prior to 12:01 a.m. on the 3rd Thursday every November every year. So get into a little bit of how it's made. The Gamay grape is a very fruit forward. We talked about pairing in the last I want to say the second last session that I had on pairing with spicy dishes. We talked about the Gamay grape because of its tendency to be very fruit forward. Strawberry, raspberry. This is no exception. So because of also the process of how this wine is produced, and it's called semi-carbonic maceration, what ends up happening is the whole clusters are put into a container and sealed, basically filled or pumped carbon dioxide. What ends up happening to these berries, they're actual, and it's called an anaerobic fermentation, where the actual fermentation occurs within the berry. So there's enzymes, there's this chemical reaction that happens in the berry, produces a very fruit-forward, fresh wine that is just amazing to drink, because and you could almost taste that it was just freshly pressed. So you're gonna get those really fruit flavors, extremely low tannin. Because there's no aging here, there's no sitting for any extended period of time, there's no barrel aging, and so on. So if you like wines without any tannins, this is a great wine for the weekend. If you're having any spicy dishes, great wine for the weekend. This wine is meant to be drunk chilled, so I have it here, put it in the fridge, maybe about an hour, I want to say. Get it down to about 16 to 18 degrees Celsius. drinks very well, goes down smooth. Don't expect, long finishes, refined tannins. This is not the wine. This is a fruit-forward, everyday wine. Only happens in November. Get it while it's still in the stores, and you typically won't be disappointed. So again, you want to make sure these are, you drink these now. They're not meant to be aged. They don't necessarily have the potential to be aged for longer periods. So you want to really drink those as quickly as possible. So I just wanted to show you guys a quick rundown of where we are here. Hopefully we can see that just quickly here, because you often look at French wine, which was different than wine across every parts of the world. They talk about regions, right? So what we're talking about here is the central east coast or east side of France. Beaujolais region, the Crus are out to the north. Beaujolais Village are in the south. Lyon is just south of here. Burgundy, which is classic for Pinot Noir, is just north. And you basically have, the river that runs that provides the necessary temperature fluctuations, averaging between day and night. And Beaujolais is basically where this happens. Reason why I wanted to show you this is that just a quick tip on some of the French wine labels. I know personally, when I had started, people wonder. I go into the wine store and I see all this French wine, and all I could read is Chateau this, Domaine this, Montrachet, and I can't make any sense out of the labels. And really have to understand the tradition and where French wine comes from. So historically, and they've kept to tradition, and this goes back hundreds of years, and back into the 1800s, is the wine in France is labeled by either terroir, geographical location, plots, chateaus, domaines, and they're labeled basically, they either have a specific geographical area, a specific plot that is, some are more obviously renowned than the others. But as a consumer, you go to the store and you look at the bottle and you say, well, Chateau Figeac, and you say, well, I'm not sure what that is. What am I drinking here, right? So what I recommend is when you go into your liquor store is first go in there knowing what is it you like to drink. If you like fruity wines, if you like more full-bodied wines, if you love white wines that are off-dry, if you like wines that are dry, if you like Chardonnay, if you like Sauvignon Blanc, and then just do, honestly, Google's your friend here. Do a quick search on what wine region in France typically produces that grape variety. So, example, Cabernet Merlot, you'll find a lot of it in Bordeaux. Up in Loire, you find Chenin Blanc, Sauvignon Blanc, Chardonnay. Chardonnay is also in Burgundy. Pinot Noir is in Burgundy. So you can go down the list. You have your Syrah in the Rhone Valley, and so on. So, before you go into the store, I encourage you to kind of just know what you like. And when you go into the store, look for the particular region. And then obviously, the more refined and the more aged that wine is going to be, it'll start talking about the classifications, where this is a village wine, or whether it's a kind of table wine, or if it's a specific plot. And the more narrow it gets, more cru or premier cru or grand cru, is more refined, more renowned, that particular plot of land, and thus the more expensive will likely be the wine. However, you can find some obviously really good wines that are available no matter what region you go for. So, quick tip, hope that helps. Again, take advantage of this weekend, get some Beaujolais Nouveau in, fruity if you're gonna have. This goes well with anything really. Any whether it's smoked barbecue or spicy dishes. This Gamay grape here will go quite fantastic. The color on this one here is beautiful, just violet, and really the aromas are just fruit forward, and just take advantage of the passion France throughout so many different years and generations that they've put in the hard work to get where they are. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Provide any comments, share. Let me know if you want to see any particular wine tastings, wine ratings. I'll be glad to do that. Well, that's pretty much it. So again, if there's anything, you guys just send me a quick DM. But if not, until next time, on this episode of What's in Your Glass for the Weekend. Jules here signing out from behind the cork. Thank you.